capital of Tejano music, San Antonio. We're live from T-Town. We're live from T-Town. We're live from T-Town.
My name is Robert Rivas, and I was head DJ at T-Town from 1991 to 1994. You could say I was the original DJ from day one till it ended. How I accomplished this feat is beyond me, because really, man, the experience inside of T-Town working for the owner, Danny Levinson, was an experience that I will never, ever forget. You know, geez, this is something that I had been wanting to do for quite a while, and to be honest with you guys, I never, back when I would think about doing this, I didn't have the radio station up and running. I considered writing a book about it, but I said, who's gonna care? You know, who's gonna be interested? I didn't know, and I said, do I want to put the time and effort and the monies into putting it into a book and putting it out there? And I said, well, at the time I didn't have the time and I didn't have the money, so I said, nah, I better not do that. But now I've got Robert Rivas Radio up and running, and I said, well, you know what? Better than a book. Let me just go ahead and make a special out of it, a documentary, however you want to put it. And I'll let whoever wants to take interest in it, take a listen to this, whatever the case may be, then here we are. So, T-Town. Oh, boy. How does one start off something like this, and just to start from the beginning, right? Well, you know, I played at so many little congalitos, little bars, however you want to put it, so many of them. It's just unreal. From the Red Lion Inn to Something Different Too, to the Lonely Ladies Lounge, to the Pretty Nice Saloon, to Lefty's Bar, and I can go on and on and on and on. So many small little bars, so many gigs that I did. And lo and behold, from one night to the next, I get a phone call saying, hey, how would you feel about DJing at this club that we're building on San Pedro, on top of the hill, 7011 San Pedro? You're going to be the assistant. And I said, well, okay, let me go on in there. The manager at the time, Carlos Perales, called me, and I had worked with him before at Something Different Too, which he fired me. And I wasn't too happy about that. But he gives me a call and tells me, would you like to be assistant DJ to the main guy? And I go, well, sure, I'll take the gig. I show up over there, and they're still putting everything together, and T-Town's being built, and kind of blew me away, and I said, well, I'll be assistant anyway, so and I should be okay. Then about 2 evenings later, they had a VIP party. I'll never forget this. They had a VIP party on a Tuesday night, if I got it right. Tuesday or Wednesday night, T-Town had a VIP party. It was only for media and VIP guests only. And I was invited to this, although I was going to be assistant DJ at the time. They didn't need me that night. The main DJ, forgot his last name, but his first name was Carlos. He was going to be handling everything. So I showed up anyway. I was curious. I was going to be working there. So I said, yeah, I'll be there for a little bit. Well, lo and behold, I'm there, and I'm mingling a little bit, and I leave. Simple. Very, very simple. Then the next morning, bright and early in the morning, I get a phone call from the manager, Carlos Perez, and he tells me, hey, dude, I need you to come to the office. I need to talk to you ASAP. And I go, well, okay. So I show up at T-Town about 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, thinking they were probably going to go over everything that's going to have to be done for that weekend, which was grand opening, where we're going to have Shelly Lares and El Super Grupo Mas perform for grand opening. Well, they call me into the office, and they tell me, Carlos Perez and the owner, Danny Levinson, and they tell me that they fired the main DJ, Carlos, who was going to be the DJ, a different Carlos, of course, from the manager. They fired him. And I was going to be head DJ. And I go, huh? I just said, you're going to be the man. You're going to be the main DJ. And for right now, go ahead and put your game plan together, because you're going to be the main DJ. And I said, well, okay. I said, okay. Well, geez, man, you know, Friday comes, grand opening Friday, you know, and I'm pumped up. I'm very, very nervous. I really am. Mind you, I'm coming from these small little bars. You can put 30, 40 people in there, you know, simple, small little bars. Now I'm being put, you know, at the Super Bowl of clubs, you know. I'll never forget this. I showed up. It was about 6:30. I showed up a little bit early, of course. The doors opened up at 7, and there was already a line of people wrapped around the club. A line of people. It was monstrous. So many people were already in line to get into the club. the KXTN RV, the live remote van was out there, and I looked, and I swear to God to you, I parked, and I stayed there parked for 5 minutes, and I looked at everything, and I swear to God to you, I thought, I don't belong here. I don't think I'm going to make it. I swear to God to you. I mean, butterflies started flying around in my stomach. I got the nerves kicked in, and I said, this ain't going to happen. I better get out of here. But I didn't. I walked in, grand opening night. It was simply slammed. And really, it's just unreal because I remember it was Shelly Lattes and a super grupo Mas, man. They were top dogs, pretty much were, one of the top dogs in Tejano music from back in the day. Although it was a positive, there was a negative in this as well. And let me tell you why. Shelly Lattes opened up, and she played 2 sets, not one, 2 sets. So I felt really bad for the people that showed up early because, really, Mas did not get on stage till about 1 o'clock in the morning. Really, and that's true. Mas did not hit the stage till 1 o'clock in the morning. Man, how long can you be there? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? They didn't hit the stage till 6 hours later. By then you were drunk, had a hangover, fell asleep, and could have woken up again. Really. So Mas finally hit the stage at 1 o'clock, and they hit the stage like rush, like, hurry up, man, let's get on stage, let's go take care of business. They knew that they were just coming on too late, but it really didn't matter. The club was just kicking ass. It was just slammed. It was just simply monstrous. And of course, Mas sounded awesome. But anyways, that was grand opening night, and I got to tell you, it was just something unreal, and I was just like, I can't believe I was a part of this, and I'm going to be a part of this.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alfonso Jaime, and I was the lead singer for Grupo Rodeo back in the early 1990s. And what can I tell you about T-Town? It was probably the best club in all of Texas, in my opinion. We had really, really great times there, always great crowds. People in San Antonio obviously love Tejano music, and that was back in the day, back in the early 90s. T-Town was pretty much the central. That's where everybody went to have a good time. And looking back now, and as I recall correctly, T-Town was actually the second big gig for Grupo Rodeo. We had opened up for Ram Herrera one night in Eagle Pass, and the very next night, to our honor, we opened up for David Lee, Los Musicales, and it was just an awesome night. I just remember the crowd was amped up. Everybody was standing up in the front. El Vicio had just come out, and people were starting to get to know Grupo Rodeo. And we went up there, and we did our show, and we had a great time. I just remember I used to love to be up on stage there. It was a somewhat small venue compared to a lot of the venues in Texas, but I think the fact that it was small made it more intimate. The dance floor was right up near the stage, and often when you had big acts, well, there was very little room to dance, but somehow La Raza would always find a way to dance their cumbias, to dance their rancheras, to go up there and do their spins, especially the girls with their tight Rockies and the guys with their hats and their Wranglers. T-Town was the place to go. I just remember, we had so many just great memories there. And one thing as band members that we really liked as well is that we had a great party room in the back, and before the gig we'd be back there, we'd be back in the back room, the band room, and they treat us like kings. They put out beer for us, they put out all kinds of food, and of course we always had visitors back there, which was always fun, that we always had fun with. T-Town was, I remember when they reopened it wasn't quite the same, but it was pretty close. But, the original T-Town, especially Robert Rivas on the DJ, it was just the happening place in San Antonio, and it was always an honor to play there.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Yvette Barraza. I started off as a cocktail waitress and then became head waitress at T-Town. My duties were to open and close the club, which meant that I was there from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. I also had to train any new waitresses, which was a weekly thing because the turnover rate was very high. I worked 6 days a week, And working for Danny Levinson was a love-hate relationship. Danny did not like spending money easily, so he made you work hard for his money. When he was good, he was nice. And when he was mad, he was bad. And if you were in trouble, you were sure to be cussed out and chewed up. He was not a people person, that's for sure. But aside from that, my experience there, my memories, I will always cherish. When it was crowded, for times like Selena or Emilio, there was not even enough room for elbows. We had to literally fight our way through just to serve one drink to a customer. If we were stuck in one spot at that time, we were there until at least playing was over. And at times we even had to get a security guard to help us through the crowd just to serve our drink. Our coworkers were great, and the experience I will never forget. It was hectic and a stressful job at times, and definitely you had to be able to work under pressure because there were times things did not run smoothly. Times like those when we were running out of draft beer, or the beer was hot, or we didn't have enough ice for the tubs of beer, and so we were scrambling just to get things right. There were times when some of the crowd, or the people in the crowds, were not as nice either. There was one memory I remember where there was this girl who I guess she just didn't like me from the moment she saw me. She was constantly telling Danny that I was giving her trouble, and Danny would just listen to her and just blow her off. So I got mad, and I had every waitress go up to her beer and flick it. And we poured extra salt in her beer, and she had a rose on the table. We got the ashtray, and we crumbled her rose. So when she picked it up, there was nothing but petals left on the table. That was one memory I'll remember because she made me so mad, and I didn't deserve to be picked on like that because I was serving her just like I was serving any of the other customers. There was also a time when I was in the bathroom trying to hurry up and go pee because I had to hurry up and get out on the floor and watch my waitresses do their job and me also, that there was a fight in the bathroom. And I ended up hearing a bottle breaking and people saying, no, don't do that, she's pregnant. So I had to hurry up with my pants half up, run out there. I grabbed the first person I saw, told her to get away, and stop the fighting. Turned out the next day, the lady came in, showed me the bruise I left on her arm, and she turned out to be our security guard the next night. Yes, those were memories I will not forget. There were plenty memories, good and bad, but you know what? I'll never forget it. It was the best job I ever had.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Toby DeLuna. Most of y'all remember me back from when I used to work at Desperados back in the day, in the 90s. It was fun. It was a fun time, and then we were on top of the world, per se. And then all of a sudden, T-Town comes around, the arch enemy, as they said. But it really wasn't a competition. It was more of it was more business, than anything. We figured that, hey, if another club wants to come into town, more for the people, it gave the people more a choice, what to do and where to go, and it was great for the industry. There's a lot of hearsay and there's a lot of stories about the rivals and this and that, the 49-cent drink rivals and all this other stuff. But like I said, man, it was more of a business, for the people. It was better for the people, better for the fans. One week we had a band and the next week they had a band, and that's when Tejano music was at its heyday, and it was great for the fans. They had a choice where to go, and we had our loyal customers, and we're never going to go there, but then, Robert and them guys would book Jay or David Lee, and then next thing you know, where's our people at? And they would be over there watching those bands, and then, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and, we made it fun. Robert and I have been friends ever since then. There's never been bad blood between us, and, I went there, when we would have a dead night, I would go over there, and we were welcome with open hands, and it was fun.
Join me, Ramiro Burr, with The Buzz with Burr every Friday at 9:30 in the morning and every Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. Get all the latest news, details, and much, much more right here on Robert Rivas Radio.
Hey, amigos, les habla Joe Bosada, and man, I've got some fond memories of T-Town. We did many a show out there back in the day. I played some great gigs out there con el Grupo Más, with Brian Herrera, Emilio Navaida. Man, I think we even did a couple of shows there with Selena. And some of the best times that I had there that I can remember, it was really after the shows, because they had a real nice party room in the back for the celebrities and for the artists and stuff. And There was a huge jacuzzi back there that you could just get in there after the gig and just unwind and just, really relax and have a few cold beers after the show and just sit there in that hot tub. So that's got to be one of my fond memories out there of playing out there in T-Town. But I remember Carlos was their manager there, and I had known Carlos for a long, long time. So it's got a special place in my heart.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
One actual bad memory of opening night, I'll never forget this, was it was actually the reason why the main DJ, who was going to be the main DJ, got fired on the VIP party. I did the same thing what he did, but he got fired for it. And let me tell you, I got blindsided as well. Well, Shelly Ladas went on break, and I went ahead and started playing music, and I played some Tejano, then I played some country, and then I threw in some top 40, some dance music. And as soon as that happened, I saw the owner marching. I mean, he was marching to the DJ booth, and you could tell he was pissed off. Well, he goes inside the DJ booth, and the manager, Carlos, is right in back of him. And the owner, Danny Levinson, gets in my face and says, "What are you doing? Why are you playing that crap? Take that crap off now. I want to hear Tejano music and only Tejano music. I don't want to hear that." And right away, the manager, Carlos Perez, he defended me. He goes, "Boss, you need to change it up every once in a while. I don't care. I just want to hear Tejano music, nothing else. But boss, you need to change it up once in a while." Well, I showed him. I said, "Danny, take a look at the crowd. Look at the crowd." And he got up there in the DJ booth where it was just elevated, and he saw the dance floor packed. Everybody was dancing to what I was playing. And I told him, "Boss man, you need to change it up a little bit. There's got to be a little variety thrown in there as well. Not only Tejano, there's got to be a variety." And he looked at me and he just walked off. And wow, and I said, "So I take it this is the person I'm going to have to be working for." Ouch! I said, "Oh my God."
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Les habla Dave Farias, man. I guess we're going a little bit, I guess, the things that I remember, man, back in T-Town, híjole, man, it was, just getting there, man. There was a line of Tejano people getting into the club. And, it's, those were the good old days when I was back with my brothers, La Tropa Esther, and we had a good turnout there, man. There's a lot of people that went and supported, support Tejano in the 90s, and the club was booming, and everything was cool, man. Everything was nice. The people were danced. People were, we did a lot of autographs, a lot of, signing, everything, man, from T-shirts and caps and everything, and just supporting the Tejano industry. Pero I remember just a lot of good people there, man, that night, and every night we would perform there at T-Town. And it was up in the hill, man. If you're going up in the hill, that was T-Town. That was the place back in the days, back in the 90s. And I just want to thank everybody that supported and still supporting Tejano music. And, there was David Lee, Emilio, Mas, Propa, Jerry House. I mean, you name it, man. Everybody was doing us and Shelly. And it was just every weekend was a good crowd there at T-Town. So I wish they would come back, but I don't know. Yeah, one thing, man, that I remember back in the days when, we're Tropa, is we started off on Wednesday nights there at T-Town, man, if we want to play, okay, guys, kick it off on Wednesday night. We did Wednesday nights for a long time. And after that, man, it was like we were the headliners, like 2-3 years later after that. And at the time, we were the Manny music, Brother Manny, man. So Red was the engineer, and, we had some hits coming out of there. After that, and, the gig is over and stuff, and there was a back room, man, that everybody used to hang out back there, man. And if you go back there, man, you'll see, like, Emilio walked in, man, or David Lee walked in there, man. It was a hangout for the musicians. Like, it was a lot of fun. It was like, se acababa T-Town entra, and he'll continue back in the back room, man. But, it was awesome, because you get to talk to everybody, the home musicians, or any band that would show up, man. Hey, I'll meet you back there. All right, that's cool, man. But, from Bobby Solis, Richard Solis, the drummers, man, to, a lot of bands, man, like Little Joe, or, the Camarada, they would hang out back there, or Jimmy Edwards, or the Latin Breed, but it was good, man. The 90s were awesome for everybody, and I just want to thank everybody, man, that, just went to T-Town and had a great time, man. I did.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hello, this is Gary Hobbs, and I'm from Eagle Pass, Texas, and want to say hello to all our listeners. Appreciate y'all listening in. Those of you that know who Gary Hobbs is, Tejano Music, want to talk about T-Town. T-Town was pretty instrumental and to our career, and of course to the whole San Antonio area for such a long time. It was one of my favorite places of all time. Of course, it was our favorite place when it was happening, and I have very fond memories. Danny Levinson. Dan could be hard. He could, but he was always supportive of Tejano music. He was supportive of us. We became good friends, and I miss Dan. Of course, he passed away, but fond memories, and also Carlos Perez, the promoter, who managed the place and booked bands and stuff. Carlos, a very dear friend of ours, and the last that I heard was he had moved to New Jersey working with a record label. I don't know if it was Emmy or Sony, but I have fond memories of the whole place, and especially us doing a live CD. We did a live CD there at T-Town, and as Robert mentioned it to me, there was only 2 bands that ever recorded live CDs there, and Emilio was one, and we were the other band to go in there. And so we were blessed to have recorded a live CD there, and we did a couple of New Year's Eve there. I remember 1 or 2. Great crowds, great service, the people that worked there, and I have nothing but fond memories, and I wish there was another T-Town in this era with the likes of Danny Levinson and Carlos, and but for sure T-Town was one of our favorite places in San Antonio, and once again, thank you, San Antonio, for that era of supporting T-Town and supporting Gary Hobbs, Eagle Pass.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
So now that grand opening is out of the way, T-Town is up and running. And let me tell you, I went from being a weekend warrior DJing at small little bars Friday and Saturday to a full-time job. This was a full-time job Wednesday through Sunday from 7 p.m. all the way to 2 o'clock in the morning. My nights off were Mondays and Tuesdays. And when you got Mondays and Tuesdays off, I'll speak for myself. All I wanted to do was just kind of like enjoy my home, enjoy the peace and quiet, and just try to recoup and get all my energy together for the following week. Really, I mean, the club, in the beginning, I was doing fine. I was doing okay. But eventually, it ends up pounding on you. It really, really does, because you turn into a vampire, in a sense. What I mean by that is that you turn into a night owl. You're getting off at 2 in the morning. You're going home with the streets are empty. You get home, you're still pumped up from the night. You don't go to sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning, and before you know it, or even later, 5 in the morning, then you don't wake up till 12 noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, while half of the day is already gone for all the working people, the 9-to-5ers, if you want to call them that. Heck, man, I was just waking up, getting my day started, and before you know it, I mean, waking up at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, give or take there a little bit, 7 o'clock would just come at you right away, and I'd be back at work, and we're talking day after day after day after day. And yes, I enjoyed the business. I mean, that's what I was in it for. I was a DJ. I'm not going to call it my dream, but, well, maybe in a sense it was. From playing all the small little bars, I never, ever even thought about I would be playing at a big venue, at the biggest club, really at the time. Back in that day, the 3 competitors, if we want to call them that, in the big Tejano clubs would have been Reflex, Desperados, and T-Town. And, I can remember when I found out that Marty Winters was the DJ at Desperados, and they had talked to Marty about, they inquired to Marty about possibly being interested in DJing at T-Town, but he actually turned it down, and he stayed with Desperados. So be it. So now we have it. Now we got a pretty much well-respected DJ At Reflex, Richard, I can't remember his last name. Anyways, and then at Desperados was Marty Winters. Now, here comes Robert Rivas, the new kid on the block that nobody knows. I can't tell you how many people tell me, where did you come from? We know nothing about you. And I say, well, I came from the Lonely Ladies Lounge. I came from the Red Lion Inn Lounge. I came from this and that. And they would just look at me. You know, everybody was kind of like baffled, wanting to know where I came from. So I guess you could say that I really had to earn respectability from these people because nobody knew of me. And I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't a strong DJ. I was a weak DJ. I really was. But I learned, and I learned quickly. You know, part of the club at Teton, now that it was off and running, was I had to adjust myself to 5 nights a week, Wednesday through Sunday. You know, 5 nights a week. And we're talking, we used to have bands Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night, which kind of helped the cause of me DJing, but hey, regardless, I had to be there. And mind you, we had some heavy hitters on weekends. Oh my God, you know, really, you know, I'm speaking for the first year here. I mean, it was some nights to where it turned to be a common thing. And every night thing where it was just, people were like cattle in there. All you would see were heads. I mean, it was just slammed. It was just simply slammed. It was just unreal. You know, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm here. Really, I was still like, what am I doing here? You know, and slowly but surely, I started changing my lifestyle and everything according to T-Town. One of the big positives when I was working there at T-Town in the beginning was they tied me in on Thursdays and Sundays to work with, at the time, head programmer at KXTN, Gilbert Quintanilla, GQ as he was known, Gilbert Quintanilla. I had seen him around here and there before that, you know, at some venues, at some bars I'd go to or whatever the case, but I never really knew the guy. He didn't know of me either, but they put us together. They brought in Gilbert as to be the radio personality along with me on Thursdays and Sundays, and at first I wasn't too keen about it. I really wasn't. I felt like, I don't need this guy. I can do this on my own. I don't need this person. But, you know, hey, man, what was I going to say? Don't do it. Hey, get this guy away from me. That they probably would have said, no, you need to leave, you know, whatever. So I rolled with the punches. I did. Gilbert Quintanilla and myself, we started handling Thursday and Sunday nights. And I got to tell you, you know, we ended up being very good friends, me and Gilbert Quintanilla. Really, may he rest in peace. Gilbert passed away several years ago. And I have fond memories of Gilbert Quintanilla. We had a lot of good times, you know, up in the DJ booth, just simply entertaining people, you know, the joking, the laughing, the talking, all of that stuff. I mean, our relationship as friends was really, really unreal, where we'd get together for a taco once in a while, you know, during the middle of the week, daytime, whatever the case may be, go out for a beer and chat and talk. You know, we built a friendship there at T-Town, and that's a friendship that I'm always going to value. And really, I miss my friend Gilbert Quintanilla. It was a blessing to have met him and to have worked with him. It really, really was.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hello, y'all. This is Lee Woods, former operations manager of KRIO 94.1, which was, in 1991, a Tejano radio station. We were also a big advertiser for T-Town, and they were open from, I guess, 91 to around 94, and the great Robert Rivas was the music director for the club, and he helped me expand my knowledge of music. See, Robert was a DJ. His job at the club was to keep people dancing. My job, running a radio station, was to keep people listening. So our music mix was a little different, but the knowledge I gained from Robert was really fantastic. And he's got to be a great guy to work for, Danny Douchebag Levinson, the guy that owned T-Town. Danny and I went way back to the early 70s, but 91 to 94, when Tejano music was really cooking. There were some other clubs. Man, there were so many. There was Desperado and Tejano Rose, and Tejano Club, and Tejano Rose, 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 and Tejano Rose in a place called Something Different and just a bunch of small and large clubs. But Danny's club was the elite, the creme de la creme. He had a great sound system, really had super employees. I don't know how he attracted them, because he was really hard to work for. But he was a loyal guy. If you produced for him, if you did good for him, when you worked for him, he never forgot that. And as big of an ass as he was, the way he yelled at people, I think his favorite word was douchebag. Every time I'd go visit and talk business, see how the club was doing, and get his advertising schedule, one of my favorite lines about T-Town that we put in the commercials was total BS. It was drink specials, too many to mention in a radio ad. And of course, drink special was, it's like stabbing him in the stomach, because Danny did not like to give anything away. But he did bring in the top talent in the industry. He treated all of them with dignity and respect, made sure the backstage area that they got to use was properly stocked with beer and wine and whiskey and a buffet for the guys in the band or the gals in the band. He did know how to professionally take care of business. He was very hard-edged and very hard-working. The man, he'd come close to club at 2 in the morning, and then you'd go see him at 9 o'clock the next morning. He was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, already made the bank deposit, and was licking his chops over how much money he made. It was a fun time. It was a crazy time. And I think everybody in the industry, in the end, got a little too greedy. T-Town debuted so many acts. And when a band didn't draw to Danny's satisfaction, he called them douchebags and said they couldn't draw flies to a banquet. He was quite the character, and he didn't mind telling you to his face. He was a big guy, strong guy, and whenever you shook his hand, you got a grip. But one thing about him, he was always loyal. He was always good to me and treated me right. I'd take the verbal abuse because I knew at the time when I knew even before that he never really meant it. That's just the way he rolled. Those were great times, and that was a great club. And it's just too bad we don't have that kind of venue anymore for these acts. See, it was, I miss the guy. He died of a brain aneurysm, I believe, when he was 69 years old. And he's the kind of person you thought would never die. He was so tough. But he had a heart bigger than Texas. When his son died, he raised his grandchildren like his own, made sure they had a good education and a good upbringing. T-Town, boy, I could go on forever and ever, but my voice is starting to give out. And I know Robert's got more important things to do than to listen to my diatribe. Thank you, Robert, for having me on. And you folks that are listening, you know the quality of this show and the quality of the man behind it. So enjoy. And thank you so much, Robert, for having me on.
Question. Do you listen to Robert Rivas Radio in your automobile?
Automobile?
When cruising with Robert Rivas Radio and you pick up a girl, what's the first thing you tell her?
What's happening, hot stuff?
After listening to Robert Rivas Radio all day and all night, what is the one thing you need?
The donga need food.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hey, this is Chip Perales, and this is my memory of T-Town. Let's see, where do I start? T-Town was the stomping grounds for, at that time, for all the Tejano artists that were just coming up, even the Tejano artists that wanted to get exposure, and artists that just wanted to make some noise. It was the actual spot for all Tejano fans. That was the club of all clubs. That was the happening place, so to say. people they just gravitated to that place. It just had some kind of magic that just grabbed people, and that just they could get let loose and have fun, and you got to see all the famous Tejano stars, all over the state of Texas come down to San Antonio to perform, and that was the actual spot. Huh? That was the spot to be.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
One of the unrealist things about T-Town was on Thursday nights, Thursday nights, we had 69-cent drinks all night long. It was Thursday and Sunday, but let's talk Thursday for right now. On Thursday nights with 69-cent drinks with a $5 cover. Mind you, you could have had mixed drinks or your long necks for 69 cents with a $5 cover. Simply unreal. Now, what we were doing, though, we were matching up what Desperados was doing. Desperados was doing the same thing. We just followed suit. But along with that, we also threw in a free buffet. Check that out. Isn't that crazy? How much more do people want? So now you've got 69-cent drinks, $5 cover, and free food. Isn't that something? How much more does the club have to give up to get people through the door? And boy, oh boy, did it work, man. We would just be simply slammed with people. It was just crazy. It really, really was. And of course, you'd see everybody offering, hey, let me buy the drinks. No, I'll get the drinks. Everybody would argue, I got this round. No, don't worry about it. I got this round. And mind you, think about this. This is really true. At the end of the night, I would go into the office and the bartenders would be there counting their tips. And let me tell you, 69 cents, although it was awesome for the customers, it was also awesome for the bartenders. So I want you to think about this. 69 cents, let's say a person buys 2 drinks. That's $1.38. That leaves 62 cents for every $2. Okay? And mind you, you're talking 1,000 people and buying more rounds and buying more rounds and buying more rounds. 62 cents added up and added up and added up and added up and added up, and I would see the coins, the quarters, the dimes, the nickels, the pennies. The bartenders were raking it in. It was just simply unreal. It really, really was, man. I had never seen so much change being counted at the end of the night like those Thursdays and Sunday nights with 69-cent drinks. Wow. It was just simply unreal. Eventually, our Thursdays and Sunday nights changed a little bit. We got rid of the buffet, and what we started doing was that it was still 69-cent drinks with a $5 cover, but then we started doing wet T-shirt contests. And boy, oh boy, those wet T-shirt contests, man, were really something else. They really, really were. Gilbert Quintanilla would handle the wet T-shirt contest, getting up on stage and doing it. But every once in a while when Gilbert wouldn't come in for the night, I'd get the honors. And women were so nonchalant. They were just so nonchalant. It was very simple the way it worked. Liquor, we'll call it, we'll say the people from Crown, okay, Crown Royal. Let's say they were going to sponsor it. So what would happen here was they would provide the shirts that were given to the girls. Girls would wear a shirt. They would have to put a shirt over them. And what would happen here was that I'd announce and say, okay, ladies, whoever wants to enter the wet T-shirt contest, come on over to the DJ booth and sign up so we can go ahead and get you entered. The winner gets $100. Woohoo! A big $100. Yeah, right. But that's what they would get, $100. So anyways, the girls would come to the DJ booth and sign up, right? And I got to tell you, some of these women would pretty much pick up their blouses and just show me, what do you think, Robert? Do you think I might win? I said, oh, yeah, you got big possibilities. You really, really do. Really. So then the way this would work was, once it was time for the wet T-shirt contest, I'd get up on stage. Let's say it was me doing it. I'd get up on stage and, we'd call up all the girls, come on up here, ladies, and they'd all get in line, and we'd have a bathtub on top of the stage filled with water, and lots of ice, okay? And 2 scoopers, like 2 big scoopers for water. That way they could be poured on the girls' blouses, or should I say their T-shirts, and to make their breast really stand out. And with ice water, even more so. I'm going to tell you, man, those nipples were standing at attention. They really were. And if they weren't, after ice was poured on them, they were standing at attention. And many times, I would just pick a couple of guys, 1 guy or maybe even 2, to pour the water, to get the honors, to pour the water on the girls. And then I can't tell you how many guys were waving, Robert, hey, Robert, pick me. And heck, man, somebody would see me somewhere eating a taco at a restaurant or whatever. Hey, Robert, I'm going to be there tonight for Thursday night wet T-shirt contest. Can you pick me, dude? Come on, dude, pick me. You know, everybody wanted to pour the water on the girls. You know, and if it wasn't that way, if we had a special guest in the house, like a Ram or somebody like that, then we get them to pour the water on the girls. It was simply crazy, man. The guys loved it. It was really something. It was just, it was just unreal, that wet T-shirt contest on Thursday nights. Now, on Sunday nights, we shifted gears there, and we used to have a balloon drop. On the balloon drop, we'd have a lot of balloons that were put over the dance floor on the ceiling, kind of like a big plastic bag full of balloons over the dance floor, okay? And the bag had a string attached to it that would run all the way to the DJ booth. And whenever we would do the balloon drop, I would yank on the string, it would open up the big plastic bag, and all the balloons would come out. The balloons were filled with lottery tickets. And we would call our Sunday nights, T-Town wants to make you a millionaire. You never knew what you were going to get if you got a balloon, but you knew that in each and every balloon filled with air, it also had a lottery ticket in there. So you never knew if you were going to get a winner or not. And we used to call that T-Town wants to make you a millionaire. Wow, what memories.
Question. Do you listen to Robert Rivas Radio?
Hey, baby.
Don't I know you guys from somewhere?
I am the great Cornholio! Settle down, Beavis.
Robert Rivas Radio. Tejano.
Come to Butthead.
And much more.
Right, this is Ramiro Burr, longtime writer, columnist, and book author, and producer of the weekly The Buzz with Burr on the Robert Rivas Radio Show. My best memories of T-Town is it was the big club on top of the hill. It was the hottest place when it opened up. It was the place to be. It had everything modern that clubs didn't have until that point, which is like 16,000 square foot, 1,400 capacity, tons of TV, basketball, and sports trivia, a great sound system, and just a wonderful A1 ambience. You feel you were at a class club when you were at T-Town. Back then, T-Town had what no other club at the time had, and that is a professional green room, or an area where the artists could relax before showtime, where they were taken care of with food and drinks and conveniences. It was a place to relax. It had plenty of comfortable seating. Again, it was private, strictly for the A-listers. It was a nice experience. From there, you walked around the building to the club as the band got on stage and caught the show. Going to a club to record a show was an unusual move, but it showed that the record label was happy with the ambience and the level of professionalism at that club, and the acoustics worked well, and it was just big enough for a live show to be recorded, and recorded very well. And Emilio's 1992 album, Live, was recorded there, and I was there, and it was an awesome show. Great acoustics, lots of energy, memorable evening. Danny Levinson was a memorable figure. It's the kind of guy you meet, you never forget. He was huge, he was tall, he was boisterous, he had big hands, but he did bring some memorable things to the scene, and that wasn't just T-Town. It was the whole concept of the Tejano and Proud logo, which was they were the originators of it. It indicated that this was a club that was top class. It was something that Danny believed that Tejano fans deserved, was an A1 location. He was a no-nonsense guy, didn't put up with any BS from anybody, fans and artists included. I remember one time when Maz was beginning to have a reputation for no-shows, and they were booked at the club. I remember Danny called me up personally and said, you need to write in your column that he personally guaranteed that Mas would show up at the club that Friday, and if they didn't, he would refund music fans $25 each. But Mas showed up, so It was an unforgettable night, but Danny, no-nonsense type of guy. What made T-Town unique and separate from all the other clubs around was they were the largest ones at the time. They featured the top line of artists. They had lots of pictures of the artists inside. It was a place to see. It was almost like a museum. They definitely had a head and shoulders above other clubs like Desperados, Tejano Wave, Reflex. When T-Town closed, it was just one more marker in the increasing decline of Tejano music in 94, 95. Stations were already going down, but when the Monster Club of all clubs closes down, that was just as sad as exciting it was when it opened. So it was definitely an indicator that Tejano had passed its glory days and was on its way back to where it started.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
This is Xavier Olivares. Most of y'all know me back in the day as X-Man, head of security at T-Town. I'm just on here to let y'all know a few things that went down at T-Town, because most of y'all went over there just to have a good time, listen to good music, party, be as part of the Tejano scene. But there was a lot more than that. Not only was it happening on the dance floor, it was happening all around on the dance floor, even outside the club, inside the club. A lot of things happened. We were there to make sure that everybody went there to have a good time, and most people did. But every now and then, you get some knuckleheads in there that just want to kind of ruin it for everybody. But we really didn't let that happen too much. There was a lot of the famous Robert Rivas security to the back. So there was a lot of that going on. A lot of heads got rolled a little bit here and there. A lot thrown out the back door, the front door. It just depends on what door you were closest to and how you were acting. But men weren't the only ones either. Women were too. You women, you went over there, you guys were kind of rough. You guys looked good and everything like that. But, hijo, you see your vato in there with another girl and it was on. It was like, man, worst night T-Town history has to be Emilio Nevada playing the Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys playing the Buffalo Bills. That was the worst night. They were lined up outside the door, and every time we threw one out, I'd say about 5 were let in. We threw people out left and right. We started taking count. We must have thrown over 100 people out that night. People upset over this, too many people in the club, everybody drunk, everybody trying to have a good time, bumping into each other, hitting each other. Tables fell over. People got thrown out different directions. A lot of fights broke out. That was that's probably the roughest night there. It seems like every time everybody got paid on the first, since most of our T-Town clientele didn't work or have jobs, but it seems like most everybody on the first would go and party, especially for Thursday and Sunday 69-cent nights. It was just crowded. It was just chaos. It was totally just insane. None of y'all really saw this because it was handled pretty well, but a lot of chingazos went down at T-Town. Not only did it go down with the men, it went down with the women, but we also had women bouncers. And our women bouncers, they were pretty rough too. We've seen them throw some punches at some dudes and lay some people out. There were some good times, there were some really good times. We had a lot of respect from a lot of different people. Of course, we had a lot of people from out of town that would go and didn't understand the concept of, hey, you're here to have a good time, and that's about it. And we would show you to the door, and we would take care of business for you. We'd make sure that you were all right, especially during the dances. Everybody wanted to dance holding their beer bottle. I never understood that. So, of course, we'd have to sweep the dance floor and take all the beer bottles off, and that's when some of the guys would say, hey, what are you doing with my beer? And one thing leads to another. It just seems like nobody wants to listen anymore back then in the day. But we had a lot of good times. We had a lot of bad times. We saw a lot of stuff. The security probably saw more stuff than anybody else there. We'd have to go in the restrooms and take out women who were drunk, passed out in the stalls, and all this other stuff, trying to look as good as they can. But let me tell you, you women did not look good, bent over a toilet, throwing up in it or anything like that. So getting thrown out like that way, especially you jealous women. Women would be so jealous all the time. It was insane. We had one woman, if those of you that went, remember T-Town was on the hill, and below it was parking, where now there's like a KFC there and everything. We had a woman jump off the top of that wall because her boyfriend got upset with her and left. Now, who does that? What man out there is worth it for you to jump off the top of the wall, which is almost 2 stories, and break your back, and your man is just gone? See you later. Gotta go. Heavy there. Ambulance comes, picks you up. You got a broken back, and your old man's taking off in the sunset. Who does that? Nobody. You guys were crazy. Fight-wise, yeah, there was a lot of fights, a lot of 2-on-1, a lot of 4-on-1, a lot of 4-on-2. We ranged different sizes as far as the bouncers. We tried to handle everything that we could, but the chingazos were there. You know, there's a lot of guys got their ass kicked big time, and that's just the way it was. Didn't want to listen. Robert stood over everybody, so he saw mostly everything, but every time we heard that famous security to the back, boy, there we were. And Robert B with his flashlight pointing right there. There we go and bum rush people. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was part of an experience that we had. To this day, most of us, we still talk, we still hang out, we reminisce about the things the way they were. It was a good time. It was a really good time. It was part of the Tejano movement. Everybody and somebody that has anything to do with Tejano went through T-Town. You know, we took care of many bands. We took care of many celebrities. We've seen a lot of things. We saw Hector Macho Camacho get beat by a woman on the punching bag to see who could hit it the hardest. We saw that. He came in there T-Town one night and everybody was Chavez. The crowd was going crazy and stuff, and he was just, you know, relaxing, doing his thing. But we went to the bag. Those of you who know what the bag is, that were there back where the pool tables were, you put a quarter in, the bag would come down, you hit it, see how hard it would go? Well, we knew a waitress that could hit it harder than he did, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty funny. Everybody laughed at him. But anyways, those were the days. We had good times, we had bad times. A lot of us still stay together. It's something that none of us will forget. And I know that San Antonio will never forget, because T-Town was Studio 54. Everybody that was somebody went.
Question, Mr. Chihuahua. Do you listen to Robert Rivas Radio? Do you listen to Cruisin' Classic Sunday? Do you like Freeform Friday? Do you like girls in bikinis? What would you do if Robert Rivas Radio was off the air? Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Now, it sounds like there's a lot of excitement going on at T-Town and what I'm doing and everything that's going on in the club. And there was a lot of excitement. What an experience. You know, I'm still kind of like trying to figure out what I'm doing there, but I'm there. So I'm making the most out of it. How long it's going to last, I don't know. I just know that the club is happening. It's kicking butt. The people are showing up each and every night. I mean, the stars, the Tejano stars, are there performing. I mean, everything is happening. But there's also a downside to it. You know, my downside to it was at the time, my daughter and my son, they were in their teens, and I would get my kids each and every weekend. You know, that was without fail. I was going to get my kids every weekend, and now things have changed. You know, now I'm giving up my weekends, and although I would go pick them up on a Friday, I'd make sure they had everything they needed. I'd make sure that my kids had their food, their little junk food, the movies that they were going to be watching or whatever, and I'd leave. You know, I'd leave, and I tell them, I'll be calling and checking up on you guys, and I'll see you at about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. I'll be back. And really, I felt bad leaving, but I had to work. That was my moneymaker. That's the way I was paying my bills. And I had to work, but I definitely was not going to give up my kids on weekends. You know, I needed to have my kids there on weekends. They were my backbone. My kids were the ones that made me go. They really did. So I'd leave, and I would leave feeling really, really bad. I really would. You know, I wanted to be there with them. I wanted to watch the movie with them. I wanted to be able to eat some junk food with them and just spend time with them, bond with my kiddos. So I said, well, although I've got to go to work, I'll get up early the next morning, which will be Saturday morning, and spend the whole day with them. And then, of course, Saturday evening, I'd leave again and make sure they had everything they needed. And I'd be sad walking out the door, leaving them there. But I knew I'd be coming back, and I had that to look forward to. I knew when I got home that night, my kids were going to be there. And, of course, I'd be calling and checking up on them throughout the night to make sure they were good. And they were good. They were watching their movies or whatever. But I gave up some of that time spending with them. But, hey, man, this was my job, and I had to do my job. So, and the beauty of it was that when I would get home at 2:30 in the morning, many times they'd be awake, watching TV, waiting for their dad to come home. And even more so, now I'm home at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm waking up early in the morning because they're going to get up early in the morning, and I wanted to spend the day with them. And we would take off and go to SeaWorld or go to the park or go see a movie or whatever we did, go to the pool, whatever, on the weekends. But I was not going to give up my time, and I was going to have to wake up in the mornings and the weekends to be able to get as much time as possible with my kids. When Sunday would come around, Then, I take them back to their mom Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening on my way to work. I drop them off. And then, I got to tell you that getting home Sunday night and my kids not being there after the weekend was done, man, talk about the emptiest feeling in the world, really, from being in front of 1,200 people, 1,000 people, entertaining them, seeing people dance and laugh and drink and everything, and, me pumping up the crowd and doing everything. Then I come home, and I go from being on top of the world to coming home and just feeling as empty as one person can feel, to an empty apartment and finding one of my kids' shoes or something that they left there and just missing my kids. But, that was part of the bar life. That was part of the bar life. That's what I picked. It'd be one thing if it wasn't paying the bills or anything. It was paying the bills, and this was part of the sacrifice that I did to do what I had to do, working at a club. And my kids, they never threw it at my face. To this day, they never have. I think they realized that although I wasn't with them, I was, and one of the most emptiest, I'll never forget this, one of the most emptiest feelings I ever got was that I've always valued Christmas Eve. I've always loved Christmas Eve. I don't know why, but I've always embraced Christmas Eve more than Christmas Day. One Christmas Eve, I had them during the day, and I had to go work that night. T-Town would be open on Christmas Eve, and I'll never forget this. I had my kids with me. If 6:30 was coming around, I had to be at the club by 7 o'clock. So at 6:20, 6:30, I told the kids, okay, kids, I got to take y'all back home. And I'd see their long faces like they didn't want to go. They wanted to be with me. But I said, I've got to go to work. I'm sorry. I've got to go to work. We take off, and all the streets were empty. Everybody's with their families or doing whatever they're doing. It's Christmas Eve. Everything's empty. Everything's closed. If not closed, they're closing up. And there I am, taking my kids back home to their mom and going to a club to go work at a club on Christmas Eve. But that's part of the way it is when you work at a club. Then, of course, being there at the club Christmas Eve, we were just dead. One couple over here, one guy by himself over there, another guy by himself over there. We had no business being open on Christmas Eve, but the boss would say, we're going to be open Christmas Eve, then we're going to be open Christmas Eve. One Christmas Eve, the very first one, the owner, Danny Levinson, I'll never forget this, place was empty, dead, but there I am playing music, doing my job. He walked into the DJ booth and gives me an envelope, says, there you go, that's for you. My boss was hardcore, and he just says, that's for you. And I told him, thank you, boss, Merry Christmas. And I opened up the envelope, and it's 5 $100 bills. That was my Christmas bonus. Although very nice of him, and very appreciative that I was, I would have given up that Christmas bonus just to spend Christmas Eve with my kids, really. It wasn't all peaches and cream, DJing at T-Town. It really wasn't, because although you get the satisfaction, of entertaining crowds and seeing everybody dancing and laughing and joking and drinking. And the party atmosphere was there, and I was part of the party atmosphere, but yet there's always the other side to it. The nights where they're not like that, and even, a crowd doesn't make the party atmosphere in a sense. Sometimes, although you can be there, if you've got other problems going on or whatever, like myself, I would be thinking about my kids or whatever, then, it kind of takes away from your enthusiasm, although I really try to never let it do that to me. I always try to keep my personal problems outside of the club to as much as possible. But like I said, the club business is not an easy business whatsoever. And me being part of T-Town for 2.5 years as a full-time job, it had its highs and it had its lows.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
T-Town, Tejano, and Proud, and I'm telling you, man, what a morning show. And wow, I'm here talking to Carlos Perez, who back in the day, from 1991 to 94, was the general manager of T-Town, Tejano, and Proud. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, amigo. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Carlos,
Happy and proud.
There you go. I cannot tell you the vibes, the excitement, the flashbacks of T-Town. But you know what, Carlos? It all starts, really, amigo, it all starts when you started putting everything together, for the grand opening and moving forward, ¿verdad?
Well, I remember back in those days, I mean, I used to work for another club in San Antonio, and I got one of the guys from Budweiser recommended me with Danny, and Danny went and talked to me and told me about this club and that he was putting together. Way back when, it used to be Tiffany Billiards, and we went, took a look at the property. He told me what he wanted to do, and I said, that's the way you're going. I mean, Tejano back then was the growing movement. It was what was happening. It was hot. I mean, there were a couple of clubs that were trying to capitalize on it, and he told me about his vision. His vision was to just go and make something unprecedented to anybody, before, and put this club together, and manos a la obra, we put it together and let's do it.
All the work, all the sweat that you put into it, Carlos, because believe me, and I'm being nice about what you went through in a sense, porque you lived there. You were pretty much there day and night. You lived there. Looking back at everything, Carlos, do you think your time and your effort, of course you were paid, but regardless, I would always say underpaid, but looking back at everything, how do you feel?
I think that more than an underpaid or anything like that, I think it was like a school, because we were all the people that worked were starting out. We were young, we were full of energy, we wanted to eat the world and really have success, including yourself. I think. I mean, we wanted to have like the best of the best, and the only way of doing that is just putting 120% of what you have into it. I mean, back then, me recuerdo que I used to go in at 9 o'clock in the morning, all gung-ho, see Danny and start doing inventories and checking out the club. And even when it was under construction, we went out and put a jackhammer to the floor and, and lifting the old Tiffany Village and breaking it and putting the vision together, and going out, buying speakers, buying loud lights and sound system, putting it together, and making sure that we were going to have the top-of-the-line club back days of the Tejano business. And it was a day and night work. I mean, before even booking a band or just getting into that, we, like I said, in at 9, out by 5, and then just go in back again 7 to 4. You probably sometimes was 4, 3 o'clock in the morning, because even though you close with the legal time closing, you still had to sit down and put 14 registers that we had to work when it was a full pop night. For Fridays and Saturdays, you had 14 different registers that you had to count, organize, and put together.
Carlos, when did you know that T-Town was something special?
To me, the first thing is I had never seen anybody put that type of investment into a club before. Well, I hadn't worked with somebody that tells you. I remember Danny telling me, go up to Austin. Back then, Austin had high-end systems, which was top of the line. And it says, go out there and get whatever you need for the club in lighting. Don't even worry about it. Just tell me what it was. And go out there and give you a carte blanche so you could just put whatever you wanted into it. And then he told me, I'm telling him, okay, who do you want to book? And I'm going, okay, what kind of budget do I have? He said, we're going to go get Maz. Because way back then, opening night, Maz was playing in the big arenas and doing, big shows. I don't know if you remember. I mean, you must remember, Robert.
Of course.
That was a big deal to have Maz in a club. You were rolling. and when
we're rolling.
When we closed that first deal, I knew that we had something that was going to be the bomb. And after that first opening night, we kept working in the first 2 weeks, and we saw what started coming in. when bands start calling you, the starting bands and all that, that they wanted to be there. They wanted to open up. They wanted something special. And you said, no, I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to go with Class A. I mean, to me, that was the pinnacle. The same as pretty much like when we landed Selena for the first time. No, we had everybody except one band in the Tejano business. Everybody went to T-Town.
Now, on Thursdays and Sundays, 69-cent drinks, $5 cover. I mean, was it a jungle or what?
Brother, those were good days. Wine me, diving, 69. It doesn't get better. I mean, people don't understand that at 69 cents, we still made money because you had the cover charge. And any single liquor drink in the house for 69 cents, when you do the math, you get 32 shots to a bottle and a single liquor drink. I mean, the secret was on how you pour and how you did it. I mean, we poured on 8-ounce glasses, and we filled it up with ice, put the first shot of whatever they wanted to drink, then the mixer, and then just don't even twirl it around. Just pop in the popote and let that first drag be pure alcohol. After that, it's history. 69 cents. I mean, you're having fun. Long necks for 69 cents. They never heard that. I mean, our cost was good. We were making money. And people think that we were crazy for doing that. But that was actually, those Thursdays and Sundays just made it happen. I mean, those days where everybody else was struggling, we were having to turn people back.
I can remember in the day when T-Town was so popular, so special, that we had like a store. We called it our Mercado, if you want to call it that, Mercado, where we were selling T-shirts, we were selling jackets, and it was everybody wanted them.
We were merchandising everything, caps, T-shirts. Danny was always avant-garde on that. Danny, he liked the best. And I still remember when he first told me that, I said, okay, what kind of jacket, what kind of T-shirt and all that? He said, no, we're going to have everything custom made. He didn't buy the T-shirts. He went to a cut and sew and had them specially cut and sewn for T-Town with the best materials. He went to the guy who was Russian. I still remember like yesterday, that designed the jackets for the Mirage Hotel and made a deal directly with him in Vegas to make the T-Town jackets, which nobody had. Our jackets were like in the style of the Mirage in Las Vegas. It was the best. I mean, Danny was one classy son of a gun. He was strict. He was very, very demanding. But to me, that's what made him the best in the business.
Don't you think that made him demand respect? Because he deserved the respect. As tough as he was, he demanded respect because he commanded respect. I mean, when you saw Danny and Danny's decisions, if you thought I worked, Danny was there at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning every day, and he may have left at 1 when the club closed, but he was there. And you think that it was only me, I mean, we were there, pitcher and catcher all the time, working and working and working. And that's a guy that was right there, making sure that everything was happening and we were making the right decisions and doing the right moves to make it happen. I mean, when you needed money to sit down with Abraham Quintanilla and book Selena, and people used to wonder how the hell we used to get Selena 4 times a year. Well, we used to sit down and advance all that cash up front with a contract. And not everybody would sit on money or advance that kind of money and wait 1 year in advance. Yeah, he knew how to work the money part of it. He knew how to, whatever it took to get whoever he needed to perform at the club, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Carlos, now we're talking about a club that slammed. It's just kicking ass. Thursdays, Sundays, the weekends. It's just happening day in, day out. It's just happening. 2.5 years. Now, short of 2.5 years, a new club opens up down the street from us, Tejano Rodeo, and we start feeling the effects of it. I see it in the crowds. I'm sure you see it in the registers. When did you say, you know what, we're in trouble?
You notice it, the trouble. You never believe it. You always see it. But you say we can do better. We can buy more advertising. We can try to bring bread, spend more money on the groups. We can do the impossible. But at the end, it's just you see the numbers dwindling. You see every time getting less and less and less. And there's a point where you got to quit while you're ahead and not lose everything that you've made throughout 2 years and change. And that's what it boiled down to. I mean, it was sad. You start seeing it with having to cut down your waiting staff. You start seeing it with having to, you bring big acts, but the people don't show up. That's where you start feeling the effect. And the cash register va bajando, se pone de menos en menos. The tips are not that good. I mean, I remember some time where bartenders used to kill to get inside to work for T-Town. And then after a while, it was, the other way around. You had to kill to get them in.
Carlos, I'm sure Danny hung tough for a while when he should have went ahead and cut the line. How long did it take Danny to finally say, that's it?
He as soon as it opened up, to me, I think we had more than a long run. Usually a club has a lifespan of 1.5 to 2 years max. Unless you really make history and you become a Studio 54 or you do that type. And even though those come to an end, all clubs come to an end because it passes a couple years, a generation, the music, the people change. It's different. It's different. He noticed it. De nuevo, como te digo yo, you don't want to believe it because you were sitting on top of that world. You were really thinking you were the baddest and the greatest. It came to a point where he saw it, and then he wanted to go another circuit. He wanted to go more on the mainstream type of club instead of following a different genre to me, that back then was happening.
I want to ask you something here that I've never asked you before, and I don't know to this date, but I'm going to find out right now, hopefully from you. Now, I found out that T-Town was going to close that same night. It was a Saturday night. Ram was playing. I found out about 10:30, 11 o'clock that night that we were going to shut down that night. When did you know it was going to shut down?
He probably told me about 2 days before. 2 days before is what he told me, and he says, it is what it is. And we're closing, and that's what it is. Thank God, for the connections and everything that we did. Time passed. I was very respectful like anybody else. I mean, management is a different approach. They tell you it's going to close, and you got to tell them, okay, you hold on to everything and hold on to your guns and do what you got to do.
I'll never forget the night we closed down. The place was empty. You were walking around. So was I. We were looking at the club. And when it was all said and done, Carlos, me and you started from day one and through all the employees and everybody that went through there, employee-wise, we were the last two left. The last of the Mohicans was me and you, man.
It was a good ride, Robert. And we had a rough start, but that's fine.
It was shaky.
People don't understand that when I worked in another place, I fired you. And then I hired you again. That's the way it goes. I mean, it is what it is,
Carlos, earlier in this segment, I explained that. I talked about it earlier. I told them. I was telling the listeners that I explained to them how my relationship started with you and how I got hired onto T-Town and how I was so pissed off and disgruntled when you fired me from the other club, and I told you, if ever I see you on the side of the road with a flat tire, I'm going to stop and throw you the finger and keep on going. And you kept on telling me, Robert, it's not personal, Robert. It's not personal. And I was just pissed off. But how unreal that we built a friendship along with working together. And we had struggles. Me and you both did, Carlos. I saw you struggle. I saw you working hard, man. And you saw my part too.
Look, the thing is that people don't understand what it took to run T-Town. And it all sounded really nice and cute. But every once in a month that we had to go in and clean the whole club, and everybody would put in their own time and go in and do it. Not because we wanted to, because we were very well motivated to do it, and everything that it took to run that place. From even escogiendo la música, and I'm sure that people went up to you and tried to ooze you to go some other place with them. And we believed in what we had. We believed that we were making history. And I still, to this day, pienso that there has been no club like T-Town. We made history in the Tejano business. Enough history when you go to another city that put a club the same name as yours. So we must have been doing something right.
Carlos, do you think it's fair to say what I say, self-proclaimed the Studio 54 of Tejano music?
I would totally agree with you. In the books, and this is Texas and Alcohol Commission books, for a couple of years, we had the highest grossing club in Texas.
What does that say about the people going through the club? Carlos, any closing words about T-Town? Anything you want to say that you've never said before? Any last words about T-Town?
Look, T-Town was T-Town because of the people that went to T-Town and the employees that made T-Town. We all work hard for it, all of us. I think it's like we had a real good team put together. If not the best, but one of the best in the business. We had our ups and downs like anybody else, good and bad times. But all in all, we gave results. We gave results, and we put the Tejano scene on the club business, big time.
Carlos Perez, General Manager of T-Town from 1991 to 1994. Thank you for being part of Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show on this special T-Town Morning Show.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Kitty. Do you like Robert Rivas Radio? Do you like his morning show? Do you like his Cruising Classic show? Do you like it when Robert Rivas Radio is off the air? Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hi guys, this is Jimmy Gonzalez with Super Grupo Mas from Brownsville, Texas, from the Valley. Just saying hi to all of you guys that are listening to me right now. And talking about a little bit of T-Town. Man, T-Town was it was a beautiful club, man. I know that it's still there, I think, but different names and stuff. T-Town was one of the biggest, man. It had to be the biggest. They brought the best artists, the best Tejano bands that I can remember. It was of course, the original Mas, my compadre Joe Lopez and myself, and I really don't know who the rest of the bands, and it kept changing a little bit. I know Brando was there too, and some of the guys were still there, but we had a ball, man. And of course, I just found out that Danny had passed away like 5-6 years ago. The owner, and he was an awesome guy, man. He was a great man. He was a very good personal friend of mine, and he treated us like kings, man. We got there, he gave us a red carpet, and they had a room on the side and the back, and that's where we used to stay, and it was a beautiful room, and they had couches, they had everything. And like I said, Danny would treat us like royalty. We were such good friends, and we had such big fans. Basically, that's where it started from, San Antonio. San Antonio's been a big supporter of the Grupo Mas since we were born back in 78. And up to this day, to 2015, they're still a big supporter me headlining Grupo Mas with my own band, which is part of them are my kids. But going back to T-Town, those are beautiful memories, man. I can't recall a club right now that was like T-Town, you know. But I just wanted to say hi to you guys, and I'm saddened with the news que me dio Robert right now about Danny. I thought honestly that he was still living, pero well, I guess in a better place in heaven, and well, he'll be missed, of course. One big memory that I do have about Danny was that he gave me an earring. He gave me an earring, and I still have it to this day. And it said T-Town. It was like a star, and it said T-Town, and he had like a half a carat diamond on it. And up to this day, man, I still have it. So something that I wanted to share with you guys about T-Town. And I wanna thank everybody for listening to Robert Rivas Internet Radio, and I'll see you guys next time. And thank you guys for listening. And T-Town will always be in my memory, man. T-Town was great, and T-Town is great. It's a big memory that I have in my heart. So thank you guys for your support, like I said before, and I'll see you pretty soon in San Antonio. Love you guys.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
One thing that everybody simply hated, employees there at T-Town, we all hated it, we dreaded it, was once a month we'd have cleanup, which meant that once a month everybody would come in, and if you were a waitress, you'd be cleaning tables and chairs. If you were the bartender, you'd be cleaning the bar. If you were a stock boy, you'd be cleaning the stock rooms. If you were a DJ, like what I was, I'd be cleaning the DJ booth, and of course, all the TVs that we had in the club. We had TVs all over the place. I mean, my boss was just in love with TVs. We had TVs just simply everywhere. Well, mind you, we used to have cleanup once a month, and cleanup, and mind you, all this was off the clock. Nobody got paid for this. We'd all come in, and it was called cleanup. And at first, we started doing it once a month in the evenings. We'd go in at 7 o'clock. But we all voted on it and said, you know what? Instead of us having to be here in the evenings, you know, it feels like another night, and we only have one night off, which would have been Tuesday night, can we do it Monday in the morning, Monday at noon? So everybody agreed to it, so we started doing Monday cleanups on Monday at noon. Mind you, we work Sunday night, get up, go get a taco or whatever, show up, and start doing cleanup. Everybody was doing their sections. Mine was having to go in the DJ booth, dust everything around there, clean the mixer, clean the amps and back, you know, and just, you know, clean the TVs, which I simply hated it. I'd have to get up on the ladder, clean the TV screens, clean the back of the TVs, whatever the case may be. I hated it. And we would be there from 12 noon till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Simply terrible. Simply hated cleanup. Oh, my God. I think about it right now, and I'm going like, oh, my God, I want to quit. Now, getting away from cleanup, you know, the fights at T-Town, los chingazos, if you want to call it that. You know, I'm not going to say that we were slammed with fights, and I'm not going to say that there were no fights. You know, we were a club like everybody else, and at clubs, once in a while, a fight will break out. And there were several fights here and there, and the way I would take care of things was, if I were to see a fight, right away I'd get in the mic, and I'd say, security to the front, security to the back, security to the pool room, wherever the fight was going on, I'd call it out. And many times, man, when you're slammed with people, you know, these securities, they just can't see it. You know, there's just too many people trying to get through the crowds, so I'd use a flashlight to point to the area, like right there, that's where it's at. I didn't want to overcall it either, because you don't want it to go too crazy to where you're going, hey man, we got a fight, we got some chingazos. We just say security to the back, and people right away knew, chingazos. People knew right away. You know, there's always one that I'll never forget. It just simply blew me away. It simply blew me away. I had never seen nothing like this before in my life. The band had just come on. The band had just come on, and somebody came to the DJ booth and said, you got to get security to the bar, security to the bar. Right away, there's some chingazos going on, security to the bar. So I got on the mic while the band was singing, and I said, security to the bar, security to the bar. I got off the mic, the band was playing, and I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to see what was going on. Well, I get to the bar, and lo and behold, what do I see? I see a man in a wheelchair throwing chingazos. I had never seen a man in a wheelchair was throwing chingazos with a man standing up. And I said, what's going on here, man? The security showed up, and they rolled the guy in the wheelchair to the front. They took the guy he was trying to hit to the front and some girl. Well, lo and behold, what happened here was, while the man at the bar, not in a wheelchair, the man at the bar was buying him and his girlfriend a drink, the guy in the wheelchair went and grabbed the girl's ass. And well, the man turned around, the man who was at the bar, and he told him, you know what, I don't care if you're in a wheelchair or not, I'll kick your ass. And the man in the wheelchair said, well, bring it on. And can you figure that out? A man in a wheelchair, man, he was just swinging his arms, man. He wanted to kick some ass. It was just simply crazy. They took him to the front, and the owner of the bar, Danny Levinson, was being explained everything, and the man in the wheelchair wouldn't shut up. He was drunk. He wouldn't shut up. And my boss tells him, you know what, if you don't shut up, I'm going to take your brakes off your wheelchair, and I'm going to roll you down to hell. We all couldn't stop laughing at that. I said, oh my God, man, that was just simply crazy, crazy, crazy. Another crazy story was one night, this lady showed up at the bar. She went to the front door. It was 69 cent night, and my part-time DJ, I forgot which one it was. I had a part-time DJ named Carlos and another one named David. I used to call him Super Dave. So anyways, so I was in the front mingling with the boss and seeing people come in and stuff. Some lady walked in the front door and told the owner, he was collecting money at the time, she tells him, I don't want to pay $5. I just want to find my daughter and get her out of here. And he goes, well, for $5, you can go look all you want. And she goes, yeah, but I'm not going to stay. I just want to go find my daughter, and I'll leave. And he goes, for $5, you can go look all you want. And she goes, but you don't understand me. I'm not going to stay. And he tells her, well, you don't understand me. For $5, you can go look all you want. Well, they argued for about 10 minutes, and then she finally started cussing him out. And he tells her, you know what, why don't you get on your broom and fly on out of here? And he threw her out. And there you go. The stories of the front door. And one more that I can remember, the manager of the club, Carlos Perez, he really impressed me one night. He really did. Because, you'd always get these minors that wanted to come into the bar, and of course, everybody was being carded. Well, there's one time, these two girls walked into the bar, and they wanted to pay their cover charge, and the boss tells them, let me see your IDs. And they forked over some IDs, but he threw a curveball at them, because they were fake IDs. And he threw a curveball at him. He looks at it, he goes, what's your name? And the girl said her name. He goes, when were you born? And she said the date of birth. And then he goes, what's your horoscope sign? And when she said the wrong one, he goes, these are fake, get out of here. Isn't that something how somebody, well, if you're trying to use a fake ID, you could you'll memorize the name, the address, the date of birth, but who would ever think about if they're going to ask you what's your horoscope? Because everybody knows your horoscope. True? Really? I mean, that was just some of the fun that was going on at the front door. It was just simply crazy.
Hi, this is Suzette Quintanilla, and I'm listening to Robert Rivas Radio. Hello, everyone. This is Suzette Quintanilla, and my memory of T-Town, let's see. Oh, my gosh, I got a lot of them. I guess one of them would definitely be the fact that every time we did play in San Antonio there at T-Town, we had a sold-out crowd, and I remember, performing and always actually loved performing at T-Town because they had like a little back area, kind of like an apartment for all the bands. So during our breaks, we used to hang out there, and we used to have our friends there, and it wasn't about hanging out in the back of a van, but that was before we had the bus. And just, hanging out and having a good time. And, of course, playing in San Antonio was always something that we totally enjoyed. And we loved our fans in San Antonio, and they've always been great supporters of our music back then and even to this day. So how can anybody not forget T-Town?
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
The club had a variety of celebrities that would show up. It's just unreal how they would just show up out of the blue. I can only remember some of them. I remember Robert Pekin Quiroga, world champion boxer, showed up there. one evening, Sean Elliott of the San Antonio Spurs showed up one night when the Spurs were playing. When he was with the San Antonio Spurs, should I say. Paul Rodriguez was there several times. David Robinson's brother. He looked just like David Robinson, and everybody thought he was David Robinson. Everybody would go up to him. We had him there. He showed up. One night, we had Macho Camacho, world champion boxer, showed up when Selena was performing. That was just simply unreal. You just never knew who was going to show up at T-Town. You never knew. There was one night that, although he wasn't a celebrity, I think he was a celebrity somewhere else. I don't know the man's name. I just know that he showed up, and he wanted the VIP action across the board. And we used to have a VIP booth that was located right next to the DJ booth, where you would get your own booth. You'd get a TV that would come down from the ceiling, and you get your own personal waitress that would take care of everything for you. Well, this man got the VIP booth. You'd have to pay $100 to use it, and he was getting Dom Perignon all the way, man. This man was going all out. And let me tell you, it was just simply unreal. I mean, you knew this guy, man. He had some buckaroos, man. He really did. Because when him and his wife would get up to go dance, he had securities around him. Like if he was the president or something, he had some securities, and 4 guys would go out there to the dance floor, one on each corner, and the couple would dance in the middle, in the center, and those 4 guys around them were there to make sure nobody got close to them or nobody would bump into them. They had their own space, and I was going, look at that. Along with that, this is all true. Along with that, the VIP booth was right next to the ladies' restroom. I mean, we're talking, it was just like 4 or 5 steps going around the corner, and the women's restroom was right there. And he also requested 2 securities of our own from T-Town to take care of him. Well, every time his wife would go use the restroom, they'd walk her to the door. She'd go do whatever she needed to do. She'd come out. They'd walk her back to the VIP booth, and that guy would give him $20. Every time they'd walk her to the restroom, he would tip them $20. And this guy's got some buckaroos. Well, you know, I'm doing my thing. The band finished, and I start playing some music, and somebody knocks on the DJ booth door. I go down there, and it's that man. It's that big VIP guy. And he tells me, do you have this? Do you have that? And I go, yes, I do, but I've got some other requests that are in front of you. I think I can do one for you. He goes, no, sir. I want the last 30 minutes. I want whatever time you got left. I want to hear what I want to hear. And he pulls out a wad from hell from his pocket, and he says, here you go. And I look at it, and it's a $100 bill. And I go, do you know what you're giving me? I don't want no misunderstandings here. This is a $100 bill. And he tells me, it's not enough? And he gives me another $100 bill. And I go, you know what, dude? You got the last 30 minutes. And if I don't have the song, I'll sing it. So that was the biggest tip I ever got at T-Town, a $200 tip for 30 minutes worth of music. Yeah. The memories, I'm telling you. And of course, the bands that performed at T-Town, you know, I've said this many times and I'll say it again. I think we pretty much had every heavy hitter Tejano band, even not heavy hitters, go through T-Town. I mean, we just had them all. David Ligarza, Mas, Emilio, Selena, Jay Perez. We can go on and on and on and on. Little Joe Posada. I mean, we just had them all. You know, they were all there. Laura Canales, all of them. The only band we never had perform there was La Mafia. They just simply wanted too much money. They wanted 30 grand, and there was no way we could cut 30 grand and still make a profit, you know, in our club that we could put 900 to 1,000 people. It just was not going to happen. Now, I'm going to share a story with you guys that I've told very few people about this, but this is a true story. Now, in this story, I'm not knocking the band or anything. It is what it is. You know, there was no at fault here. It was just misunderstanding. That's all it was. So mind you, I'm not putting the spotlight on the band itself. This is just a story that really did happen. One night, we had Excelencia performing there at the club. And Excelencia, man, they were just kicking ass. They were doing very, very well, at least for us there at T-Town. And one night, before the boys went on stage, their wives, girlfriends, whoever they were, I think there were 4 of them, 3 of them, they had a table. close to the stage, and they were sitting down, they were having their drinks, and the guys went on stage. They started performing. No big deal. Excelencia's performing. Great. Their wives are doing their deal, whoever they are, girlfriends, whoever they were, and sounds pretty simple, right? Well, the band went on break. They went on break. Well, their wives, girlfriends, whoever they were, went backstage, went back to the band room with the boys. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, we were packed. We were slammed. And tables were far and few. You know, everybody had to stand. Well, when the ladies left to go with the band members in the back, you know, the waitress came and cleaned up the table. You know, it looked like they had left. She cleaned up the table, and two couples go and sit there. There we go. Sounds simple. Well, when Excelencia goes back up on stage, the girlfriends are going back to their table. Mind you, the band starts already. So the girlfriends now don't have their table no more. You know, it's been cleaned up and somebody else is sitting there. Well, they go and complain and say, that was our table. Well, I mean, it was explained to them, you left. You got up and left, you know, and we had to give the table to somebody else. The girlfriends' wives didn't like it. While the band's playing Excelencia, they go, and I'm seeing some of this, where they whisper into one of the band members' ears while he's playing. They're giving them the lowdown, you know. Hey, man, something's wrong here. They're pissed off. They're not being respected. That's the way they saw it, I guess. Well, I mean, the band didn't like it, so what does Excelencia do? They finish their song. They're not even 10 minutes into their second set, and they get up, and they walk off. They get off the stage. You know, they're backing up the play of their girlfriends' wives, and they're saying, you know what? We're not going to play anymore. And they're back there, and I'm told right away, Robert, get your butt back up to the DJ booth and start playing music. And I say, well, okay. So I start playing music, and they're trying to figure out what's going to happen back there. And when it was all said and done, they told Excelencia, either you guys get back up on stage and finish up your set, or you're not going to get paid. You know, and they were coming in from Houston, Texas. You know, it was, to me, it was just a simple matter of miscommunication. It would have been all resolved if those girls would have said, we're going to be back in a little bit, save this table, don't give it up to anybody, reserve it, and that'll be that. But at the time, they probably weren't thinking about it. They just decided to go back, you know, with their guys or whatever the case may be, and they thought it would just be, the table would be waiting for them. And that wasn't the case. And it caused a lot of commotion. It really, really did. But like I said, Excelencia was doing well for us, and we didn't want no hard feelings with them, but at the same token, I mean, it was a terrible thing for them just to get off of the stage and say, we're not going to play no more, because they came in from Houston, and of course, they wanted to get paid, and they were getting paid pretty good money with T-Town. So it all got resolved. They got back up on stage, and they finished out the night. Craziness, isn't it? It really, really is. Man, I'm telling you, so many stories.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
Hey, this is Ram Herrera. I have a lot of fond memories of T-Town up on the hill. The place was always packed. They treated us real nice. I loved the back room they had for the artists. They had a great complimentary green room in the back, and which a lot of clubs didn't provide for bands, you know. So it felt kind of special playing there, knowing that you go there and you get to hang out in the back room over there where there was a TV. We watched the Spurs games or boxing events, and then they come bring us a picture of kamikazes before we went on stage. I had one or two pictures of kamikazes, and the ambiance was just great. Don Elliott showed up, and we took pictures with him. Other artists would show up, boxers, Robert Quiroga would show up, and other people would show up, and it was just a great place to be, man. And I'm sad that it's gone, and I'm sad to know that I was the last band to play there. But what they always treated us really good there. You felt like an artist there, you know. They treated you like an artist, and it's a far cry different from what other places we play at. They don't even have a dressing room. They have to change outside or in our bus, or if you had a bus, you change in the bus, or you change in the parking lot, you know. So working there was kind of cool. We always looked forward to working there because with traen comida and everything, and they treated you like an artist. You felt like an artist when you played there, and the people were amazing. It was just everybody just let go and had a good time. And I don't remember of any fights or anything going on in that place. You know, when we played there, it was always everybody just was very harmonious, and everybody had a great time. A lot of fun memories we had in the back room and meeting people, and And the girls were tremendous. The girls were beautiful that showed up over there. That was always a plus. It was just. I have I'll always keep the memories of the place. Danny Levinson was always took care of me. We went to the fights together. We saw the Quiroga fight when he fought the African guy from Zimbabwe, or I don't know where he's from, but se murió later on. But we were at the fight together, sitting together, and then I had to play that night. And I was screaming so much. He goes, "Rev, you better take it easy. You got to sing tonight." I said, "Yeah, I know." And I barely made it to the night because I almost lost my voice screaming for Quiroga. But and then Big Carlos always took care of us too. He was my bodyguard there, and big old boy. And he always, but very nice people. They treated us real good, and I can't say enough about them, man. I hope they're doing well. I haven't heard from them, seen them in years, and I hope that God takes care of them and watches over them, because they were very nice people. They treated us very nice all the time. They treated all the artists real good. As long as you were cool with them, they were cool with you. And I always try to treat everybody, the way they treat me. They treat me nice, I'm going to give them nice back, No, I got a lot of fond memories of that place. It was awesome.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.
My name is Stacy Levinson, and I was married to Danny, who owned and ran T-Town. As many of you know, Danny passed away from cancer 7 years ago. When I met him almost 30 years ago, he had just closed Tiffany Billiards, which he had owned since the 70s, and had opened a top 40 club, where T-Town ended up being. After a few years, he decided to lease the property out and had reopened Tiffany's on West Avenue. It was at Tiffany's that he first learned about Tejano. We had an employee named Roland who would get dressed up in his jeans and boots and his cowboy hat and go out dancing to Tejano music. And Danny realized how popular Tejano was and started looking into it. And he decided to open a Tejano Club at the San Pedro location. And a friend of Danny's introduced him to Carlos Perales, who eventually became our general manager. And Carlos knew the bands and the music, and Danny knew the bar business. So we set about to open a Tejano Club. We thought about different names, but Tejano Town and T-Town were the favorites, and ultimately T-Town won out. Danny liked slogans, and Tiffany's had shoot pool, not people, and he wanted something similar for T-Town. And I was at lunch with a girlfriend, and I told her what we were doing, and we talked about the Hispanic culture and the loyalty to family, and most importantly, the pride. And I later told Danny that we had to say something about that pride in the slogan. Proud to be a Tejano was a choice, but Tejano and Proud was the winner. T-Town was a lot like the recent South Texas oil boom. It was big and powerful, and it took on a life of its own. It changed people's lives, and it became our life for several years. Danny loved T-Town, the excitement, the music, the crowds of people, and the success of it. He took great pride in making it the best that it could be. He was tough to deal with for a lot of people, but deep down, he was a kind-hearted and generous man. Our favorite bands were Selena. She was so sweet and had such a beautiful spirit. Danny's picture with her was one of his favorite things. Gary Hobbs, he was always so great. And Maz, we even let Joe spend the night at our house once, and Ram. I loved the music and the dancing and seeing everyone dressed up and having a good time. I always dreaded Thursdays and Sundays because of the craziness of it with the 69-cent beers, and it was wild. We loved being a part of Tejano music, and we were very grateful and proud to be part of such a special place. And I will always cherish my memories of T-Town. When Danny knew that T-Town was going to close, it was really, really hard on him, and he didn't want to do it, but he knew that things had changed and the numbers weren't there anymore, and it just wasn't what it had been, and he had to do it, and it was really hard on him, and it affected his being, and I really think he went into a depression afterwards, and it took him a while to get over it. And not only was it, his business, it was really our way of life, and it was a big part of his persona, of who he was and who he had become, and it was really, really hard for him to let that go. And I helped him do it the best I could, and but it changed him. It changed who he was, and he, of course, went on and reopened Tiffany's, and but I don't think he was ever really the same. I think he missed the excitement and missed the people and all the friends that he had made and the people that he had spent most of his time with from that time. He loved T-Town, and he really missed it when it was gone.
You are listening to Robert Rivas Radio Morning Show Special, T-Town, the rise and fall of a Tejano Club.
Okay, now, so we've come full circle. Now we're pretty much coming to the back end of T-Town, the end of T-Town. But before I go there, I'm going to share a quick little story with you guys. This is a story that's a little embarrassing, but I said I was going to come clean, and I'm coming clean on something here, and it is what it is. It was what it was, should I say. And this is all true, man. This is all true. The club would be so packed. I mean, so packed that me being at the DJ booth at the back of the club and the men's restrooms in the front of the club. So I tried doing that in the beginning, to where if I needed to go to the restroom, I'd have to walk through all the crowd, get through all the crowd, go to the restroom, stand in line and be waiting my place in line finally get through there. Or even worse, then I started using the office restroom, but even more so, the worst part was to get through the crowds. Couldn't get through the crowds. It was just too crazy. So I said, you know what? I had a brainstorm. I said, I'm going to bring in one of our trash cans that are out there, because we have these big yellow trash cans, of course, with liners. I brought one in, and I said, you know what? Along with us throwing our beer bottles inside the trash can, heck, man, we're going to go ahead, and if we got to go pee, man, we're just going to go ahead and whip it out, because we'd be hidden anyway. Nobody would see us at the bottom part of the stairs going up to the DJ booth. No one's going to see us anyway. We'll just whip it out and go ahead and take a piss right there. And I started that. And I remember Gilbert Quintanilla told me, I can't believe you're doing that. I said, Gilbert, it's better than walking all the way to the restroom or going through the crowd. I ain't going to do it. I'm not saying this happened all the time, because my drinking nights were Thursdays and Sundays, and we would be simply slammed on 60 nights a night. So I said, I've got to go this route, man. I'm not going to fight that crowd. So eventually Gilbert jumped on board. Gilbert Quintanilla started doing that too. And then a security guard, I kind of told him what was, and he goes, that's not a bad idea. So then he started doing that too. And then before you know it, 2 or 3 of my buddies would say, hey, Rob, is there any way we can use that trash can inside the DJ booth, because we don't want to walk through all that crowd and be in line waiting, because I got to go pee now. So we kind of handpicked who could use the old convenient trash can. I'm telling you, man. How embarrassing in a sense, but it would have been more embarrassing for us to pee in our pants. It really would have. So now we've come full circle, okay? All I know is the month was October. Man, if memory serves me right, it was like the 3rd week in October. It was a Saturday night. Ram was playing. Ram Herrera was playing. It was a slow night. Like I said, we have taken hits already on slow nights. The big club, the big new club, was down the street, Tejano Rodeo, should I say. So, like I said, I would only drink on Thursdays and Sunday nights. Those were my drinking nights. That's what I put upon myself. Thursdays and Sundays were my drinking nights. So anyways, it's about 10:30 at night. I'm up on the DJ booth, and I don't know who came up and told me. I don't remember. Waitress or security. Somebody came up and told me, hey, guess what? Tonight's the last night. They're shutting us down. And I go, really? They go, yeah, tonight's the last night. So right away, man, the buzz was throughout the employees. You could see the buzz was there. it's our last night, it's our last night, it's our last night. And I went, and right away I went to the manager, Carlos, and I said, Carlos, is tonight our last night? He goes, yes, sir, that's it. That's it. We're shutting her down after tonight. Well, I got a hold of a waitress, and I said, go get me a couple of beers, go get me a couple of shots, and keep them coming. I said, if tonight's our last night, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. And sure enough, it was our last night. Ram was the last band to perform at T-Town. When everybody filed out that night, nobody knew. I didn't announce it. You know, they didn't want me to announce to our customers that it was going to be our last night. But it was our last night, and I'm going to come clean here, and this is true. You know, this is all true. The night was over. Then Carlos held a meeting with all the employees. He announced to everybody, he made it official that T-Town was shutting down. That was the last night. I'm glad he acknowledged me. He said, you know, from the beginning to the end, me and Robert, we started this together, and we're finishing up together. We're the last two of the original employees when everything got started. And I remember everybody walked out, everybody left, and I was just kind of hanging around, just looking at everything, you know, just unbelievably. You know, I couldn't believe that the club had shut down. And I'm not going to lie to you, although, you know, it was sad, I felt bad, there was also a sigh of relief. Like, wow, you know, geez, man, you know, the ride has come to an end. I mean, 5 nights a week, over and over and over again. My nights off, Mondays and Tuesdays, holidays, birthdays, you know, special days, my parents, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, all of that, you know, all of that, all those sacrifices, you know, giving it up, you know, working at a club, and all of that, at least for the meantime, had come to an end. And I started looking for Carlos. I couldn't find him. And I saw him over there by the DJ booth. So I kind of walked over there, and I noticed that Carlos was a little misty-eyed. And I said, you doing okay, dude? And he goes, yeah, man, it just, you know, it's just sad. It's just sad that this club has come to an end. And I go, yeah, I know, dude, I know. And the weirdest thing was that once the club was closed, the next afternoon, I went to some event at some park. I was out there, and so many people that I knew, of course, because of the club. Hey, Rob, we'll see you tonight. Yeah, man, hey, we'll see you tonight. Yeah, we'll see you tonight. And I didn't even have the heart to tell them that we had shut down. I said, they'll find out for themselves. And that was that. That was that. T-Town was closed. And then just to go to show you that regardless of missing a place, missing a club, a couple of weeks later, you know, it was just weird. After that, when it closed down, come Sunday night, I was off all of a sudden. I didn't have to work. I didn't know what to do. The following week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, my regular rotation, I didn't know what to do. The weekend came, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I do? You know, what do I do? A couple of weeks went by, and I'll never forget this. I was in my apartment, and I had saved several VHS tapes, you know, recordings of some of the bands that performed there at T-Town, and I don't know what band I was watching. I think it was Moss, or I don't know who it was, but I was watching it, and I don't know why. But I just kind of like, you know, I burst into tears. You know, I felt sad. I really felt sad, and I felt betrayed by the people, because I said to myself, you know, all the effort that we put into the club, you know, everything that was put into the club to make it as classy as possible, everything, entertainment, service, everything. And I saw it as the people didn't care. They jumped ship. They went to Tejano Rodeo, and I said, the people didn't care. They didn't care. There was really no loyalty. You know, as Toby said earlier, you know, they would tell them, hey, man, we're never going to go to T-Town. We're never going to go there. We're loyal to Desperados. But really, in the club business, there's no loyalty. The crowds are going to go wherever the entertainment is. Whoever's got the best entertainer and the best beer prices, that's where the crowds are going to go. Really. In this club business, there's really no loyalty in a sense. But anyways, I am, that's my story. That is my story. That is not only my story, the other employee stories, the entertainers, the Tejano Stars stories. It was one awesome ride, and which finally came to an end. and I'll always cherish the memories of T-Town. You know, they're in my heart. I will take them with me to my grave. And like I said, I am glad y'all took the time to listen. I will always remember T-Town as T-Town, Tejano and Proud, the Studio 54 of Tejano music. Goodbye.
From the capital of Tejano music, San Antonio, we're live from T-Town. We're live from T-Town. We're live from T-Town.
Robert Rivas Radio, Tejano, and much more.